Grand Rising, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your co host, Trey Holiday. And you guys, we keep bringing you the news on the digital side. I got to throw it on over to my guy, Big O. What's up, Big O? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you, Trey Holiday. And man, thank God it's Friday for sure. It's been a very, very long week over here, at least for us at Converge. Last night, a real emotional gun violence roundtable discussion we had. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that later on in the hour. We've also got the team from Recall Durkan here. We've got Courtney and Leah from Recall Durkan. We like to follow these stories to the end. And, we've been following the Recall Durkan for quite a few months and went to court. Supreme Court made a ruling yesterday. They ruled in favor of Mayor Durkan. But we're going to follow up here with the Recall Durkan team. And it's Food Friday. Boon Boona Coffee. You guys out south who frequent Boon Boona, Nikki Barron checked in on them. Jake and Eric Calligraphy went over to Pier 62. The new Pier 62 is open. And also another edition of Almost the Weekend. So we'll see what they mixed up for us this week. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy it's Friday. I'm definitely looking forward to the weekend.
Well, you and me too, my friend. It's been just a long week, long days for me, man. So I'm with you on that one, bro. Thank God it's Friday.
Thank God it's Friday. First up today is, the governor came out, a rent moratorium here. It extended. And yeah, it's a good thing for renters. They're getting a lot more pushback now from property owners, though. But let's jump into this clip. This is right here from King 5 and their coverage around the moratorium.
We certainly don't need more housing insecurity in the moment of uncertainty during this pandemic.
A week before the statewide eviction moratorium was set to expire, Governor Jay Inslee says he's extending the eviction protection through December 31st. The eviction ban prevents landlords from increasing rent and prevents them from charging late fees on missed payments.
The extension is providing relief for families across the state, but it's only temporary.
Isaac Organista with the Washington Community Action Network says he's hopeful the extension will put pressure on lawmakers to come up with protections once the moratorium is lifted, keeping in mind some renters may have to pay back large sums.
You say this extension is buying time. Are you hopeful that there could be a long-term solution?
Again, it's also just depending on how no one knows how long this pandemic is going to take place. I'm hopeful that, again, as more money comes in from the federal government for rental assistance, electeds again are going to be hearing their constituents and city councils to make sure that there can be these protections put in place.
Governor Inslee agrees and pointed to the inaction from Congress on passing a second stimulus package that could help renters and landlords.
Our ability to do so is somewhat dependent to see if Congress acts. Is Congress going to get off the dime and help us be in a position to help folks like this? They have not acted yet. It's very disappointing.
Some landlords and property owners are hoping for a different solution. The Rental Housing Association of Washington says, quote, "We must direct relief to those who need it and avoid blanket orders that force housing providers to bear all of the burden of providing shelter without covering their costs." Britt Moore, King 5 News.
And the moratorium is facing a legal challenge. A group of Seattle landlords are suing the governor and Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan over their orders.
All right, Trey, and I know you work on both sides of this issue here with Africatown Community Land Trust, with renters and property owners. What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's important that people be educated. I mean, that's been our stance from the gate. I'm really glad that the moratorium is being extended. I think there also does need to be some real solutions around once this extension lifts, what are we doing for folks? And I think that that's where a lot of the community concern has been. How are people going to be responsible for months and months of back rent once this expiration expires? So that's the thing, is that I'm glad it's extending, but I think that in this extension, we really need to be working on solutions to the larger problem, even getting those landlords relief and getting folks who own homes relief, because they are also on the side of just waiting to get paid, and they have to pay mortgage or they have to pay leases on those large properties, apartment complexes. So there's been a real tough situation here, and I think it needs to really have a federal level approach, and not really be going from state to state.
Yeah, one thing that was eye-opening is that, of course, property ownership in Seattle and King County is in a decline. So the number of Black people who are property owners is much lower than when you go down south. And, last few weekends, I've been down in South Carolina and North Carolina, and what you hear on the radio there and talking to people are Black property owners who, but for moratoriums, they're not collecting any rent for, in situations down there. And I think that sometimes we forget about the property owner. We think property owners here, we think, big corporations, which they're up. There's a lot of small, just, mom and pop property owners that as well aren't collecting rent, and they're not getting any relief. The other thing of this is that this lawsuit that's moving forward, me and Kevin Schofield actually profiled the lawsuit that's been filed. I think it's Columbia Legal Services or Pacific Legal Services, but it's what Kevin said is, man, it's a real hard hitting lawsuit. And if by chance it goes and it succeeds, then you could probably see an eviction tsunami coming, because you have a lot of property owners who are just saying, basically what they're saying is that the moratorium is illegal, and they're going to court on those grounds. And that's what they mentioned there in that clip, that Governor Inslee and Mayor Durkan are being sued right now for them to lift the moratorium and for landlords to be able to find relief, to be able to evict people and move people in who can pay the rent.
Yeah, it's a issue that's really getting bottlenecked right now. And I feel that landlords and those who are, leasees, mortgage holders of a lot of these kind of properties, they're the ones really suffering right now. And eventually it'll be the renters once this is lifted. So this is something that has been shifting and definitely needs to be, I think, ironed out from a larger level. If we can get some kind of federal relief that says, look, we're freezing all of this on all sides. Those who own the properties do not have to pay on the properties. Those who are renting properties do not have to pay. The banks are going to just have to wait. Those who own and hold these mortgages and these leases, they're going to have to just wait. And if it comes from a federal level, maybe we could do a freeze that also does provide some relief to the banking side, but also wipes away this debt for the residents and for the property owners as well.
Yeah, let's see. John Jupiter here says, why can't the landlords get a bailout like the stock market did? Right. Bigger issue, but yeah, for now, the moratorium is extended. Moving on here, what else do we have up here? So the next thing is coming out of the Emerald, and really, I haven't had a chance to dig into this one too much. But I spoke with Carolyn Bick briefly, and I need to do an interview with her. But they're saying that Tommy Lee may have been shot while face down on the roadway, may not have even had a pin, documents show. Now, I'm not going to go too deep into this. I would encourage people to go to the South Seattle Emerald and read more about it. But this was the shooting death of Tommy Lee back on June 13th, 2017 by a King County sheriff. And at the time, they said that he had a knife, but it turns out then they said that he had a pin. And there's just been a lot of issues around the shooting of Tommy Lee. I had it just literally hot off the press, so I don't want to speak too much on it. But I will say that you can go to the South Seattle Emerald, check out this story by Carolyn Bick. Again, says Tommy Lee may have been shot while face down on roadway, may not have even had a pin, documents show. So we'll be following that up. I'm probably going to talk to Carolyn Bick sometime today and try to catch up with the King County Sheriff's Office as well.
Yeah. Once again, when you hear stories like this, unfortunately, the first thing that pops up in my mind is there we are again, the insulation of the police department that made it seem as though that sheriff had a right to shoot Tommy Lee. And so it'd be interesting for folks to really dive in, get the details of this story that she just wrote on, because it's important that we understand. And again, also too, that we do not forget. We talk about a lot of these deaths and we experience it in the movement in terms of these national deaths, but there's stuff right here in our city that still needs answers. And Tommy Lee's family and Tommy Lee's case is one of them.
Yep. Moving on here, it looks like Big Bob down there, the Attorney General, man, he made an executive decision here, and he's fired a chief investigator over his alleged behavior toward restaurant waiter wearing a BLM button. And basically, you guys might have heard this story here. There's an investigator with the state, Cloyd Steiger, former SPD homicide detective, who works as a chief criminal investigator with the state. Anyways, Steiger was eating at a restaurant, and apparently the server had on a BLM pin. And Steiger, well, on the receipt, he wrote, BLM button equals no tip. That's how socialism works. You know, people write stuff on these tabs all the time. But there was a big discussion that he had here in the restaurant as well. The whole article is up here in the Seattle Times. But Attorney General Ferguson has fired this investigator here, and of course they're saying that his guys are saying that terminating Cloyd is both a mistake and illegal. So I'm sure we'll be seeing this in court. But there's so many things and reactions over like BLM or Black Lives Matter and everything else. I think that we're probably going to do that. Might be one of our next shows that we do, because there's Black Lives Matter, this national organization and local organization. Black Lives Matter, you might say, almost like NAACP, almost like Urban League, almost like an Africa Town, almost like and it's an organization that that's looking to further their objectives, right? And there is Black Lives Matter as an organization. Then there is the movement to bring awareness around the value of Black lives, and they both carry the same initials, right? And so it's like it's crazy, because like me, I tell people even during the protests, I'm like, man, I'm not part of Black Lives Matter. They don't even email me back. You know what I'm saying? I'm not part of their organization. I'm not part of the NAACP. I'm not part of the Urban League. I'm not part of any of those. But I'm 100% for people understanding the value in Black lives. And it's the where we're at right now is when someone says I value Black lives, it just goes so polarizing to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you got people who've never been to the Black Lives Matter or national website, or don't do anything locally, and they'll say Black Lives Matter, and then people jump on them like, man, you're a Marxist, you're a communist. And you're like, whoa, bro, I'm just saying that there's value in Black lives. And, people need to be reminded of that. And for people who are saying that, no, you don't, everything is equal and everything else, I won't even take it to a national conversation. Let's go to a local conversation. The reason that House Bill 1918 passed unanimously in both houses last year and signed by Governor Jay Inslee means that every representative in this state, every senator in this state, representing every county in this state, saw that over a time period, there was an absence of value of Black lives in the Central District, that those lives didn't matter. And that's why they were redlined, and policies and everything were put against them. Our state legislature unanimously agrees that there's time periods here where there has been no value to Black lives. The governor signed it. So it's not even just, the liberal Western Washington, like I bring up all the time, Okanagan County, Benton County, Franklin County. Well, the whole state recognizes that. So imagine that, when these housing covenants were going in Seattle, if someone said there's value in Black lives, they deserve to have equal housing. Imagine when redlining was going in around here, you said there's value in Black lives. They deserve to live where they want to. Imagine when the banking system has locked people out, said there's value in Black business owners. They deserve banking. So, it's wild to me, and I say it all the time. I'm not part of BLM. I'm not a part of Black Lives Matter, but I do understand the value in Black lives.
Yeah, this really takes me to so many different places because you're right. Being on the side of fighting for equity and working towards social justice and really a social harmony that has yet to really be realized in this country. This is at the forefront of so much of the work that I do because I'm not a part of Black Lives Matter, right? Like that's a whole organization that is structured here that I'm not a part of them, but I understand the term and I understand why it resonated across the country so strongly when we were able to really connect with national organizers. And they said, look, when we started Black Lives Matter, we understood that it was going to be a force, but we didn't know it was going to do this. We didn't know we were going to have to defend ourselves against certain folks who are then claiming that they were with us when we had no idea who they were. People that were monetizing their position in certain things around Black Lives Matter that didn't have anything to do with it. So we've seen the term go all over the place. But you're right. At the end of the day, I'll say for me, I'm a Black person in this country. Black lives do matter. I think about what Michael Shea said in comedy, saying, look, back in the civil rights era, they were just asking for you to be civil with them. Could you just be civil? And at this point now, we're just saying, hey, can you recognize that we matter? Not that we matter more than you. And he was doing it in a comedic way, but he's so right. He was hitting the nail on the head here because these movements are in and of themselves not fully intrusive in terms of I'm going to come over and bulldoze your ideas out of the way and replace them with my ideas. What they're saying is, hey, let's look at some of the ways that this country has been built and let's realize that there were certain people who were not at all thought about, were not concentrated on, and maybe we need to do some shifting so that we can look at what policies will do if we do that. That's what it is.
Let me bring this up here. This is Rahel Araya. Where's the money for BLM going? This is the whole point. That's like you saying, where's the money for the NAACP going? I don't know. I'm not a member of the NAACP. I'm not a member of Black Lives Matter nationally or Black Lives Matter Seattle King County. I have no interest in being any of these organizations. That's the whole point, is there's two different things going on here. So when people want to address Black Lives Matter, the organization, address them. You see what I'm saying? Address them nationally, address Black Lives Matter, Seattle King County. I think there's this Black Lives Matter Seattle chapter 2. There's a few different chapters. That's a conversation, an organizational conversation. That's much different than people talking about the value of Black lives. Yeah. And you know what? I challenge the people to like roll up your sleeves a little. Stop running with the sound bites. You know what I'm saying? Dig a little deeper, not even on this issue, but all issues. Because we see a sound bite going and so, well, BLM must be this or that, man. And I'm not here to defend their organization. I don't know them. But I am here to say that, man, there is value to Black lives. And look at all the other things that people talk about that bring value to, and it's no big deal. You know, somebody could wear a World Wildlife Fund mask and, man, because pandas matter. Wildlife matters. It's no issue. Anyways, I think that this sets a good segue for us to be able to bring community back together and be able to get some different viewpoints. And maybe we can get somebody from BLM, Seattle King County on a roundtable, and they can talk from their side and then community side and some everything else, because I think most people actually do know the difference, but it's easier to just act like they don't. You see what I'm saying?
Possibly. And one answer for Rahel is there's lots of information out there, because I think a lot of people have been wondering, a lot of people have been donating to BLM, to different factions of BLM. So if you're really interested to know where that money is going, I mean, there's definitely some articles that have been written out there. You can definitely Google it and try to find, there's several things that you can find out there, weed through them. But it'd be interesting. It's interesting. I tried to dive deep on this myself just because I wasn't sure who the group was here. And there was a lot of issues kind of in the summer. So I was just trying to figure out who they were. But yeah, I came across some very interesting information myself, Rahel. So if you're really interested, there's definitely some articles out there that you can read.
Right. So moving on. Yeah, that's crazy. Converge. We always just like to get information out there. So it creates an opportunity. One last thing here before we go to break, just going to touch on this quickly, is another one bites the dust. So the downtown Seattle Elephant Car Wash to close permanently. Famous sign will go to MOHAI. This is in South Lake Union over on Denny Street. People know the pink elephant. Somebody told me one time, I don't know how true it was, is that that pink elephant, at least at one point in time, or the pink elephants were more photographed than the Space Needle for people who come to Seattle. Real iconic. You can read more about it in the Seattle Times, but the pink elephant is going to MOHAI. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we're talking about recall Durkan. And, the Supreme Court yesterday, they made a decision. We've got Courtney and Leah from Recall Durkan right here. We're going to discuss that decision and also what's next for them. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. Cộng đồng của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
بلشدة هي بقارها.
My community, my clinic.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury.
And I'm Trey Holiday, y'all.
All right, Trey. So this is a story that we got on early and actually talked to the people from Recall Durkan quite a few times, and even talked to the mayor quite a few times about the Recall Durkan people. I could tell that interview that we did with the mayor. Well, I guess it was a week ago today. Is the mayor was cool and calm in all the questions. Because I was just popping in videos. What do you think about this? Well, what do you think about? I popped in the video from the Recall Durkan, and the mayor, she didn't even let me finish my question. She's like, "Well, let me stop you right there." This and that. And so, but there's a story that we've been on, and the Supreme Court made a ruling yesterday, and they actually ruled in favor of Mayor Durkan. Here's a clip right here from King 5.
The state Supreme Court just threw out an effort to recall Seattle's mayor, Jenny Durkan. The recall petition accused the mayor of endangering people by allowing police to use tear gas and other crowd control weapons on protesters. It called on voters to decide whether to remove her from office. The Supreme Court said the allegations are troubling, but it ultimately ruled they are not enough to demonstrate that the mayor violated her oath of office.
All right. That caught everybody off guard. We got somebody sound in there. We got some reverb, some of everything. Okay, so now you saw the clip there from King 5. We're joined by Leah and Courtney from Recall Durkan campaign. I don't know if I have my titles today, so let me work on this over here. Tell us what happened yesterday. I mean, clearly the court ruled against you, but maybe you can give everybody a little bit more insight.
Hi, I'm Courtney. I haven't been on the show before. I'm the field director for Recall Durkan. I'm so grateful to be able to be on today. What happened yesterday was really just it was voter suppression is how we feel about it. The courts decided that we are not allowed to collect signatures and we are not allowed to try to vote on this, which is really unfortunate. And that's sort of we don't really have a lot of information of why they decided that. The opinion was really, what we were given was really short.
Right. Kevin Schofield, I talked to Kevin after that. I was running around. We were doing our roundtable yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to look at all the documents. But Kevin looks at everything, and he said that what they wrote, it was very short. Like they made an opinion, and they said they'll be following up in due course with a more lengthy explanation around their finding.
They delivered a ruling, and the opinion, which is the long-winded "here's why," has yet to be distributed, at least to us.
Right. So, as usual, I follow up and I reached out to Mayor Durkan's office yesterday as soon as we heard about this. And Kelsey got back to me over there. Won't read the whole thing, but I will go through the last paragraph here. It says, as mayor, my job is to listen to all points of view, including those who disagree with me, and bring people together and deliver solutions at our hardest problems. These problems have no easy answers and cannot be solved by slogans. I'm proud of the progressive action we've taken together, including our strong response to COVID, $1.5 billion in housing. She goes on and on here, talks about a bunch of policy things, addressing systemic and racial inequality, and changing policing. I will continue to focus my energy on the residents every day that I have the honor of serving as Seattle's mayor. So I'm sorry, what'd you say?
It said, lucky us.
Oh, how great.
Well, of course the mayor's going to put out a statement. But the one thing that you guys went to court on is the thing that isn't necessarily addressed in the statement. If I understand your case correctly, you're saying that the mayor failed to protect the citizens, around the protest. That's the ultimate reasoning, right, around your case.
That's a broad stroke of it, but yeah, go ahead, Leah.
The charge was that she should have come up with new police policies around the use of less lethal methods of crowd dispersal, like using OS and CS gas, given the pandemic. That's what the charge was. So,
right. And the mayor's response for that was that it's the city's charter prevents her from making policy around the police, and it's actually the police chief's job to create that policy or implement the policy.
Right.
And so let me ask you guys this. You gained a lot of momentum with this recall, Durkan. You engaged a lot of people. I'm sure you've got a lot of people supported in organizing. The mayor has won this battle in the state Supreme Court. There's nowhere else to go with it, at least in that front. What's next for you guys?
This has really been a grassroots effort since the beginning. We have people that we'll put out on the press, but we're largely leaderless, and we do a lot of stuff by consensus, and that's exactly what we did yesterday. I think that we want people to work on whatever it is they want to work on. The sort of group that we've collected, we're thinking about different educational stuff to do with our energy. We're thinking about going after an impeachment with the city council. We're thinking about all sorts of different options of like where we can channel this like incredible, amazing energy. Like, yeah, Jenny Durkan does bring people together that want to get her out of office. So like, she's right about that. I just think that none of us want to stand for the voter suppression that happened yesterday. And that's quite frankly what happened was voter suppression. There's no reason to deny us a vote.
All right. You had a question, Trina?
My question to you, because there's a new kind of effort now for Jenny Durkan to resign. And I wanted to hear from you guys, how do you feel about that movement? I mean, there's kind of, there was a recall, and then there's now folks kind of pressing for her to resign.
Well, it wasn't just folks. Let me just hop in here real quick before you answer it. It was the Office of Human Rights. The Seattle Office of Human Rights actually put out a statement asking the mayor to resign.
Yeah. So for me personally, I can't speak for the whole campaign. Jenny Durkan is not going to resign. She absolutely has no intention of doing that. There's a reason that I put my effort into recall. Politicians will never save us. Like they just don't do the right thing unless you force them to. However, we are discussing as a group, like, do we want to talk to the Human Rights Commission and do we want to work with them? And because I think in order to fix the problems in the city, it has to be a collective effort. And this won't just be our group. We are going to have to merge in with these other groups to do so, including the Human Rights Commission. We want to talk to DCRIM and KC Equity now and just figure out what's next. But she's never going to, in my opinion, she's never going to resign.
Right.
Well, the mayor is up for election next year, 2021. You got the mayor, and you've also got 2 city council members. The time that it takes for a recall and revote and everything else might only be even if you would have won yesterday, the timeline of that only would have shortened until the election about 6 months or something like that, right? And so there's an election that's coming next year anyway. Are you guys planning on? I know you're talking about other things right now in coalitions. Are you guys planning on, I don't know, like I guess backing the opposition for the election next year if she's still there in office, which most people think that she probably will be.
This has never been about backing any politician, truly. And that's not to say we don't love some of the people that are in office, but this has never been about backing a politician. This is about giving access and people in the city a right to vote and remove politicians. So individuals may choose to do that. Maybe we could swing hard left and back a politician. I think that's probably unlikely, at least for the group. Individuals may choose to do so. Obviously we're all autonomous, but I would say that's probably the least likely scenario. Not impossible though.
Right. Before we get out of here, Leah, I'll give you the last word.
That's it. That's the whole problem. I just would say that what we want to focus on is empowering people who don't feel like they have access in the political sphere. That's the whole premise of our campaign, was to empower Seattle voters. And we're going to continue to figure out ways to do that. So keep an eye out.
All right. I mean, we follow the story. That's even why we're still reporting on all of these kind of issues that arose out of the protests, because we continue to follow these stories. So if there's any developments on your side, you make sure and let us know. Okay.
Thank you so much, Omar.
Thank you.
No problem. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we're recapping last night's gun violence roundtable.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
All right, welcome back to the morning update show. You can see right there, I see you got the title bar now, Omari Salisbury.
Yay. Awesome. Trey Holiday.
We're over here trying to figure it out. So last night, man, a real powerful night. A lot of heavy people in the room, especially the parents, the parents who've lost loved ones. We had Davita Briscoe, we had Donita Sinclair Martin, Alicia Dasa, in the building. We had T. Florence Moreland, and to hear these stories, and a lot of these stories, like we know them. We know the stories very well. It's like Alicia Dasa, her son, Connor Dasa Holland, the young man killed out there by Rainier Beach. He was good friends with my son, Omari. And then, of course, Donita, her son, Lorenzo Anderson, killed up there right outside the CHOP. And, we've been knowing Donita for years and years. And yeah, it was emotional. And I mean, big shout out to Enrique Cerna, who co-hosted with me last night. Definitely needed it, man. But it was a real powerful hour there. And of course, we're joined by Chief Diaz, Seattle Police Department, Willard Jimerson, Sean Good, Reverend Martin Lawson, Rico Brimbury, Dre Franklin, Devon Adams. There's a lot of people there. But did you get a chance to catch any of it last night, Trey?
Yeah, I mean, once again, such a vital discussion. And I loved breaking it down the way that it was hour by hour, honestly, giving folks in the community a real opportunity to hear from, we haven't done that really. Just let's hear from these parents who have lost their children in this gun violence. Let's really hear. We've been doing a lot on like the solutions. So I'm glad that we had that. But hearing from those parents, something special.
Well, let's actually start there then. This is a clip from with me talking with Alicia Dasa, and she's saying that, man, she's tired.
I'm tired of funerals. I'm tired of balloon releases for birthdays. I don't know what's happening right now. I don't remember a time where it was this bad for for a while. 2010, I think, was the last time I remember hearing gunshots incessantly. But I work for public health. I feel like we have a job to do. And I feel like right now, as a community and as parents, and I'm just at a loss. I'm at a loss for where we are, what we can do. It's so overwhelming in the last few months. Connor was killed on Mother's Day. We got to be with our boy. Most people don't get that. Jimmy and I were with him right after it happened. That is not something I wish on my worst enemy. That's not something that you recover from easily or ever. I'm not really sure. What I know is Connor's gone. And we're here.
Right. In that news clip that we played there from King 5, you said that whoever did this to your baby needed a hug. What do you mean by that?
I think that kids right now are disconnected in some way from feeling empathy for other people, from feeling important. Kids who feel important or people who feel important, they don't take other people's gifts away. You can't take someone's life if you feel valued and important. I don't see how that can happen. And so if kids are feeling supported and loved, and families are feeling supported so they can be the best that they can be, parents to their kids, I think that changes the dynamic. I think it changes the respect that people have for human life. I think it changes the respect that people have for community. If you find ownership in your community and you find, even if you're not feeling safe in one place, that there's all these other folks that have your back. That changes something for kids. That changes something for people in general. It gives you that power and that voice back that allows you to do positive things and allows you to share in joy and in success instead of going the other way.
Alicia Dasa. And, we also heard from T. Florence Moreland, whose son Stephen Stewart was killed out there in the South End 3 years ago. And she expressed some frustration that people in the neighborhood know who killed her son, but they're staying quiet.
We need more support on the streets when it comes to this young generation. I am very lost and confused with this young generation that they feel that it's normal to go to a funeral every day. I want to change this generation's mind that it's okay to speak up. I've noticed that a lot of people know what happened to my son, but nobody's willing to step up and say something. And I think that has to do with the distrust with the Seattle Police Department. they are showing more loyalty to the enemy than they are to the one they call their brother, their best friend, their cousin, or whatever they want to call themselves. They make these truths and these pacts, but it's going on. It's past 3 years that I've laid my baby to rest, and people still know who did this to my child, and nobody's speaking up and they're saying anything.
Right. Another powerful moment last night was again with T and Dre Franklin. And, I had asked some of the panelists early on if, tell us your successes and failures. And Dre came back with a real interesting answer to that, because he considered Stephen Stewart, T's son, who was killed, a success because he worked with Stephen early on. But then also, of course, as a failure because he was killed. And Dre heard some things last night from T that I think that this was his first time actually hearing it, and it was so powerful in how she expressed herself, especially right after Dre saying that he felt that he had failed her son.
In a nutshell, I look at Stephen as a great success story of how this worked. It's really about the relationship and being intentional and keeping the relationship going. But I also feel like I failed him and only him. Like I knew his dad, I knew his mom, so I feel like I let the community down.
I want to stress to Dre that he made a promise to my child that he would always be there. If he had nothing else, he had his word. If Dre could not offer my son nothing else, he offered his word. He offered his time. He offered his dedication. A lot of people out here are promising you things, but they're not holding up to those. They'll do it for a minute or two, and then they'll walk away. Dre has been there for Stephen's graduations, has been there for his football games. He has been there to support him when he was hungry, when he was confused, when he was hurting, when he was just going through transitions from being a young man to a man. He has been there. It's about the promise. It's about the relationship. Like I've raised my son to tell him that you have to be a man in your work. At the end of the day, that may be all you have. You may not be able to feed a person. You may not be able to give them a place to sleep. You may not be able to offer them a ride home, but you being a man of your word to say, this is what I'll do and stick with it. So Dre, I don't never want you to feel like you failed, at least when it comes to Stephen, because you kept a promise to him that a lot of them didn't.
Wow.
I mean, what more could you do besides be there, besides love him, besides support him, besides encourage him and keep your promises? You told him on his 8th grade graduation that you was going to be there, and you was there. Shocked me. I was like, hey, you here, Until this day, we are still friends. We still communicate. We still reach out. You'll always call me or text me, hey, I saw Stephen. What you guys do? We hung out, we kicked it, we ate. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't never want you to feel like you failed, because to me, you did not. You kept your promise to my baby.
Beautiful. I'm having a hard time watching these clips again, because to see the resilience in our community is just beautiful, man. And this is what I'm talking about when, we report on it all the time. We try to showcase both sides all the time. But I just had to say that, because I'm so moved once again watching these clips and understanding that so much of what we do is because of the relationships we have in community. And you cannot replicate that all the time. Like Dre was saying, it's not about programs, because that feels very transactional, but it's about relationships. So it's just beautiful to hear that from T and Dre.
Yep. Willard Jemison, he shared a letter that a young man named Aiden, who was killed, I think back in March, had wrote, talking about basically, man, all the things that he wanted to do in life. And Willard, in this clip right here, he explains that, man, these young people, they want to live.
But just to provide an answer to your question, I want to take the opportunity to raise up one of the young men by the name of Aiden, who we lost, earlier this year. This young man, very sharp, full of so much hope and potential, and we was working with him through a diversion as well. And we had an opportunity to work with him like twice, right? The first time he wasn't really as open, to a lot of the information. Then we got a second round chance to work with this young man. And I want to read to you guys something that he actually stated to bring in a voice of another aspect that needs to be shared and heard. He said to me, I'm definitely looking forward. I'm being a huge member. I'm leading the community. I'm being bigger and better things, inshallah, which means God willing, big bro. I'm trying to switch things and at the same time get my funds up while this lifestyle is not for me no more. I don't want to deal with it no more. I'm trying to set an example for all the little homies looking up to me. Those jobs you were showing me, hopefully one day I will get an opportunity to work at those kind of jobs as well. And I had a great time learning new things every time I come to group. I'm looking forward to the next meeting. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to the next meeting. He will be forever 16 years of age. Was shot in the head just in March right here in South Seattle. And so when you ask the question, are these young folks open and willing to take on the opportunity? Yes, they are. They are looking for an opportunity. These young people want to live, and we need to do everything we can in our energy, our investment, our collective genius, our collective effort to present opportunities that prevent them from early demise. So these young folks are definitely, they want to be saved, they want to be helped, they want to be loved.
Yep. Willard Jimerson right there.
At the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing to get that perspective out, because I think that there is the misnomer in the general discourse around, especially when people do not live that life, they just assume that everybody, you're there because you want to be there. That's what you thought was cool. You thought that gangs were going to save you. You didn't have no other choices, so you picked up a gun and you rolled with this crowd. So to hear that perspective, that to understand, hey, not only are these relationships built in programs that are helping people and get the opportunities to come on out of that mess, but that these kids in and of themselves, that they have those awakenings and that they realize, look, man, you're showing me. Sorry, this is a really emotional segment for me, because my 14-year-old, I think about him in the midst of all of this, and they are so bright, so bushy-tailed. They want so much. And when they get into like a situation of like gang activity and stuff, a lot of the time, to hear that perspective, we now understand that when they are given the opportunities and examples to see something better, they realize how it can benefit their life. They realize how they can be stewards of their community. They realize how they can take their experience and turn it around for the next person, how they can help the brother beside them. And that to me is what really building community is all about. We see it time and time again. So I'm just really happy that Willard was able to share that perspective and that young man's voice.
Yep. And before we go to break here, I know we're already running over today, but and I got so many clips, but I also wanted to be able to play here. This is Police Chief Adrian Diaz. This was the last question of the night. Like, what's next? What are the next steps? What do you want people to know or do?
Chief Diaz.
Yeah. So I think that there are several themes that have come around just in this conversation, and I really appreciate being a part of this conversation. I can think of hope, the mentorship and the people that are willing to step up and guide young people into hopefully making the right decisions and seeing that they can, strive to a better future. I think the other piece is resilience, and really trying to give people the resilience to deal with all of the trauma and all of the things that are going on in the world and all of the issues that they see every single day. I think that's, really, we've got to figure out how do we build those levels of resiliency. We have to be vulnerable. We have to have these types of conversations with everyone in the room that, we might see differently on some things, but at least we're willing to sit down at the table being vulnerable, and that's the only way we can grow. And I think that's one part. Another part is being present. I think that It doesn't matter where you live at in this, in the city or in around the Seattle area. We have to just be aware that this type of violence occurs, and it does occur in every community. But we have to make sure that we are aware that this occurs in all of our communities of color, in a community that there's some of these communities are affected at higher rates because of poverty, and we've got to figure out how do we support communities to be able to find those solutions. And I think the fifth thing that I really can grab around is that right now we have a country that is greatly divided, and if we expect our youth to not and our young adults to not be divided and not to shoot each other like we have as adults, we have to figure out ways that we come together and we can show that we can be united. We can't expect our youth to not feel like they a willingness to pick up a gun and use a gun because they feel disconnected with their community. So we have to figure out ways that we can come together as a united front and figuring out ways that we can all come together with safe solutions to make our community safe.
All right, Chief Adrian Diaz right there. I will say this with Chief Diaz, months and months ago, far even before COVID and before the protests and everything else, when I reached out there to it was deputy chief at the time, Chief Diaz, this is an issue. People in the community will tell you Chief Diaz has actually been on this gun violence issue for a long time. So he came out there yesterday. A great panel was there. I would encourage people, if you haven't seen it yet, you can go to the Converge Media YouTube page, and you can also go to the Converge Media Facebook page. Got a bunch of clips that continue. I mean, it was so many great moments in there last night. And also, before I close this segment, Triana, want to say a big thank you to Hannah Scott and Dave Ross over at Cairo FM, because from the moment I first talked about this, they brought me on the air over there. I was on the Dave Ross show, or the morning show where, it was Dave, it was Hannah was there, and they gave me about 10 or 13 minutes, which, it's a long time, to really talk about things and everything else. And Hannah's been following this story up. So I really want to thank, Hannah and Dave over at Cairo FM.
Awesome, man. That's what it's all about. And I think that a lot of people in media are realizing that together we can even tell even more stories, and really sharing platforms is another way of bridging the gaps with our audience so that they can be fully informed. So that's so awesome. Shout out to Dave and Hannah for sure.
All right, we'll take a short break right now. When we come back, it's still Feel Good Friday, so maybe we can shake it off and get to feeling good out here. We got the Pier 62 opening. We check in at Boona Coffee, and then it's almost the weekend. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. It's Feel Good Friday, Trey.
I know. Good? I'm ready to feel good, bro. Thank you.
All right, so we got a few things here with Jake Grabrot, man. I mean, Jay is crazy because when I first met Jake, he was this 7-foot tall photographer who was mad quiet and everything. And these days, man, somebody got him a microphone. So now he's doing it all. He's shooting stuff. He's voicing it and some everything else. But this is Jake Grabrot. He was down at Pier 62 on the waterfront. It just opened not too long ago, which is good because some of the other piers are closed. He went down there, him and Eric Calligraphy, to check in at Pier 62.
Beginning in December of 2017, an iconic piece of the Seattle waterfront was closed to the public for a renovation and beautification project. Pier 62, former home to the Summer Nights at the Pier concert series, as well as some truly incredible views of the Puget Sound and the Olympic Mountains, was in need of some much-needed renovations. As we've seen recently with part of Pier 58 collapsing back in September, these old structures have seen better days and needed some upkeep in order to keep up with the amount of visitors as well as structural weight that they hold. Pier 62 dates back to 1901 and is now the first of the new projects along the waterfront to be finished and open to the public. Originally, this renovation was completed in June of this year, but due to public health guidelines in the times of COVID-19, the actual opening of this waterfront park was pushed back to September 20th. The pier provides almost 40,000 square feet of public space, featuring soaring views of the Olympics, West Seattle, boat traffic, and of course, those magical Pacific Northwest sunsets. Along the pier itself, a floating dock is adjacent to the pier, which provides direct access to the water by boat. Not only that, but the floating dock also features an art and sound installation by artist Stephen Vitiello. This piece, dubbed Land Buoy Bells, uses, and I quote, industrial materials, steel tank ends, and transforms them into a set of 5 instruments. The bell-like objects are struck at various moments as energy is stored up in an engineered device driven by the rise and fall of the waters that encompasses the floating dock. I visited the pier on 3 separate occasions now since its opening on September 20th, and I have to say, it is an absolute gem and something that Seattle should be very proud of. It'll be exciting to see the rest of the waterfront take shape as the rest of these projects get worked on. For more information on this and all the other updates to the Seattle waterfront, visit waterfrontseattle.org, and of course, the next time you find yourself in need of a new place to catch some epic views, drop on by Pier 62 and take it all in. And, as always, wear a mask and make sure to socially distance.
Jake Grav brought right there, Pier 62. You know, a lot of people.
The one and only Jake Grav brought.
Yeah, we have this Converge Creative. We got so many creative people over here. So I don't know, somebody in our audience might need something, you know, shot, photos, videos, stuff like that. We got a great creative team. They're on top of it. Next here, because it is Food Friday, producer Nikki Barron went south and checked in at Boon Boona.
Hey everybody, Nikki here, and I am excited to bring you a Food Friday. And today I am here with Efron with Boon Boona Coffee. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good to hear. Awesome.
So tell me a little bit about your coffee shop.
Yeah, for sure. So I took a trip to East Africa. I'm from Eritrea. My family's from Eritrea. And I went there in 2011. And there's a history of, kind of 2 sides. One is a historical kind of like cultural experience within roasting coffee our own way. Traditionally, we pan roast our own, grind it and brew it in a jebana clay pot. So that we've been doing for hundreds of years. That's practiced in Eritrea, Ethiopia, parts of Somalia, and even parts of Sudan. So I had that, and then there was also, because Eritrea was colonized by Italy, there was a lot of cafes there with espresso bars and such. And so the conversion of both in the capital city of Asmara, I was really inspired by that. And when I came back to Seattle, I said I wanted to do something in coffee. And so for the end of 2011, I was working on my business plan and said, I'm ready to go. 2012, take it to some banks, get rejected. And then 2012, I still decided I'm going to pivot and I'm just going to do it myself. And I reached out to family in Ethiopia to source my own coffee. And that's kind of how I got started with it. And that was 2012. And now in January 2019, we opened up this space in Renton. It's about 3,000 square feet. We have a roastery and full cafe. And we focus on just roasting African coffees.
Great. And so you guys aren't open for dine-in, but you do have a walk-up window so people can come check it out. You're located here in Renton in the beautiful little downtown.
Let's go. Downtown Renton, baby.
So people can still come pick up coffee here. And I noticed you have some really interesting holiday seasonal specials.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the things that you're offering for the fall?
And so we've got a salted pumpkin caramel latte, which is phenomenal. We have a laurel latte, which is avocado leaf and anise based drink. And then our new favorite is berbeta mocha. And so it's berbeta is a spice that we use in our culture in parts of Eritrea and Ethiopia, and it's a spicy red pepper basically, and it's been infused into our mocha. and just become a phenomenal drink as well. So yeah.
That's what I had last time I came.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
How was it?
It was amazing.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell me more about the subscription. So essentially every month you send them a bag of coffee or however many bags they order?
Yeah. So what we're doing is that, and it was something that we started with COVID, honestly, we were thinking about how do we, incentivize and get folks on our website. And every month, or actually you can even, the frequency can change. It could be every week even now. But every month, let's just say, you get 2 bags of coffee and it's super discounted, and the shipping is super discounted as well. It's great.
So how many different varieties of coffee do you offer?
I think right now we've got about seven different countries, 7 different coffees and about 4 different countries represented. So we got Uganda, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, so 5 countries. And we've got new ones on their way too from Kenya. We've got great collaborations that are coming up. We've actually got this kind of box set that we're doing too, which is going to feature 3 different women-owned and operated coffee farms from 3 different countries of Africa, and that's going to be rolling out probably in the next month or so.
That's going to make a really good Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Perfect.
It's perfect. It's a perfect timing for it, and then just to be able to try 3 different awesome coffees with great causes is dope.
So tell me about the causes.
Yeah, so there's a few different ones. What we try doing is we look for ones that are like relationships that are based on the ground and even on the whole entire supply chain. Who's involved and how are they involved as well. So for example, one of them right now we've got is Ovemba. Ovemba came out of Uganda, and that coffee, once it left the US, shortly after there was a flood that hit that particular washing station. So not only is it going to be a marketing component for them to get their name out, but then also there's the financial gain of helping them build back up. So things like that. And then additionally, what we're doing in Rwanda, what we found is that we found all women-based farms that we get to partner with. So we've been doing that, and then what's called a second payment that we also do on those coffees. So once you purchase the coffee, you bring it in, and if it all goes well, what you do is you supplement, you pay another round on that coffee. And so we do that with our Burundi's coffees as well. So things like that. We're always trying to find different reasons and different ways of kind of staying connected. Obviously, we're small, but from where we're at, we feel that, whatever role we can play, a positive role in, then we're going to do it on the grounds there. So that's very important to us.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm really excited to try the other seasonal latte that you have.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, thank you for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yeah, without a doubt.
There it is. And the best thing is, why I love Food Friday? Because I always benefit.
Yeah, you got a good coffee, huh?
Last week I had that Island Soul. You know what I'm saying? They brought me all that Island Soul, and and this week I got a whole bunch of coffee back there and mugs and all kinds of stuff. So we're gonna have to amend the set over here next week so I can make sure and have my.
I thought you were gonna say amend the set so I could be there and I could also get the benefits of Food Friday. You can get the experience.
Sorry, Charlie. It's coming. It's coming. Actually, we got some pretty big announcements about that coming next week as far as our set and everything over here. Man, this is I didn't know what to think about almost the weekend when these guys first pitched it. But there's a whole nother, there's people who support Converge and they're like, we do this, social justice and everything else. Then there's people who live in their culture and they support us, like, Andrew Mill Winery. Man, they make wine. They send us some wine. You know what I'm saying? And then there's guys at Bathtub Gin. They're like, man, it would be great if everybody from Converge had their own drink. And I was like, well, okay, we'll go with it. But Jake Gravbrot, Bobby Stills, and Eric Calligraphy, man, they pursued it. And so here's another episode of Almost the Weekend. Last week was the Big O. I'm not sure what this week says.
It's almost the weekend. My name is Eric Calligraphy. I'm obviously in my Friday outfit.
And I don't change. My name is Matt James, bartender here at Bathtub Gin and host of How to Be a Better Drinker podcast by the Soundcasting Network. And we're going to make another drink today. And this one is called Commitment to Understanding. I figure it should be an easy drinker. So let's start off with some vodka. All right. 2.5 ounces of that. And this is a local vodka made up on Whidbey Island by a Scotsman. That says from the Isle of Whidbey. Then we got some Pêche de Vin with a peach liqueur from Cognac. And it's made with all natural ingredients. Do 1/2 ounce of that. Yeah, that works. Then we'll move on to this Cocchi Americano, which is fortified wine from Northwest Italy. Uses Moscato grapes. We'll do 1/2 ounce of that as well. Eric, you're doing a phenomenal job.
It's my first time.
Let's get some of that honey syrup going and do about 1/4 ounce of that. And that's just 1 part water, 1 part honey.
There we go.
Some lemon juice in there, 1/2 ounce of that. Throw some ice in there and shake it up.
Gotcha. This is the part where anybody that's seen cocktail.
Yeah, flare it up, man. Double strain.
Nope.
I'll show you.
Yeah, we learned something.
Yeah, each one. So this is our strainer. This is our double strainer. It's just going to strain out all the ice chips and the pulp there. So it's nice and smooth. Extra smooth. And we're going to pop some bottles because it is almost a weekend.
It's almost a weekend.
Twist. I did the last one.
Nope, I like the way
you do it. All right. So you want to make an L with this? It's called the channel knife. Make an L. Just spray those foils all over. And you do the flip.
That part.
Yeah. There we are. Commitment to understanding. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Enjoy the weekend.
You know, I got a feeling, Trey, that these guys, Jake and Calligraphy over there, these guys are just trying to get in good with me. Because last week's was the big O. This week is commitment to understand. You know, that's my main thing. I'm always telling people, man, we don't have to agree, but let's make a commitment to understand. You see? I might have to take him up on that one.
I love it, man. I'm gonna have to go down there with Eric one of these days. I love it, man. I'm gonna have to go down there with Eric one of these days, see what the Yay holiday is looking like. You know what I mean?
You know,
we might have to get that on the menu.
They got it. No, they've got a drink for you on the menu. I'm gonna text them and see what yours is actually called. So, but man, Trey, like I said, it's been a long week. You know, but we're still here, which is a good thing. And hopefully, you know, we're ending this week better than we started the week. You know, it's been an impactful 2 weeks for Converge. Last week was the historic town hall where we brought a lot of people together. Well, you know, the mayor, King County Equity Now, council member Zahalai, Director Hersey. Then, you know, yesterday you have this gun violence roundtable where we had, you know, victims and victims' families and survivors. We had, you know, community experts. You also had the chief of police. So, you know, as Converge, we continue. Somebody told me one time and I ran with it. They're like, you know, Converge is a platform that punches above its weight because we're welterweights out here and we're moving around in a media space full of heavyweights. And just in saying that, I want to continuously thank people who support Converge, people who tune in and watch, people who share on social media, people who, you know, send all these nice messages and emails, people who make donations, people who pray for, you know, it's quite a few people who just pray for, they say like, man, I you know, can I pray for you guys? And people who pray for us. And man, I'm just real thankful for our audience, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. It's really the best because it's so organically grown, to be honest. I mean, like we see a lot of folks that really are saying, look, you guys are the news source I watch. That means a lot to me out there in the community. And oh, I know you've heard it too. It really does say a lot about the coverage that we're providing. So I'm just happy that folks are tuning in, getting informed, being educated, and being a part of the process, truly being engaged. It's awesome.
Right. And I'll leave it at this, is that if people, we always say that we just wanted to make something here that'll make our parents proud, our moms and dads, our aunts and uncles, grandparents, and things like that. We want to be able to create a product that we're proud to go back to the Central District and to the South End and bump into our relatives and friends and family, and that they would be proud of. And the fact that Converge is taking off beyond our neighborhood, beyond the Central District, beyond the South End, means that if we're programming to the values of our elders, then that means that, you know, the city as a whole and even beyond appreciates those values that our elders instilled in us, because that's who we're programming to. So
You know it.
yep. Have a great weekend, Trey Holiday. I know for me, I'm gonna just try to get some sleep.
Yeah. It's been a lot of work, man. So you definitely deserve it, brother. Enjoy your weekend.
All right. So until Monday seems a long ways away, but it's going to come fast for us. Until Monday at 11 a.m. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day.